What's up, everybody? Now, I know that Ryan's usually here. He should actually be coming in a little bit, so don't get too upset of just getting me these last 2 weeks on Sunday. Ryan's going to be back. But as you all know, the Chiefs do have a Super Bowl victory now. They are trying to get back to that Super Bowl victory. How are they going to do that? The best way to do that is to continue to do what Brett Veach has done over the last 2 years. It's those integral draft classes. How are they going to continue to do that with all the turnover? You're going to have multiple guys possibly coming and going every year. You're going to have Patrick Mahomes' contract. You're also going to have Chris Jones' contract. How are they going to be able to keep up with all this stuff and draft everything for all of that? How y'all doing tonight? Again, this is the RGR Football Channel. My name is Daniel Harms. You guys see right down here below. Well, we should have Ryan probably in the next 10, 15 minutes, so we'll hold off for him. But this week, I finished up my defensive tackles that I'm watching right now. I'm going to go back through and get more towards the day three and the top top end of day three and back end of day two guys after. But I'm going through, combing through the top maybe 50, 60 prospects right now. Can everybody hear me? No?
Maybe they can't.
I don't know. Someone says no sound, but I don't know. I'm not hearing anybody else say that there's no sound. What? Yeah, it's working out. Working good for me. Okay. Okay, there we go. All right. Okay. I think I had some issues with StreamYard there for a second. So, yeah, talking about defensive tackles. So I went through, I'm going to get my top 5 lists out on NFL 33 this week. You're going to have a few surprises in there. And there's a guy that I'm looking at because we know the defensive tackle is going to be a pretty big spot for the Chiefs to hit at in this class, whether it's going to be on day 2, whether it's going to be multiple times on day 3. There's a guy out of Baylor. I would love to see the Chiefs draft this guy. Siaki Ika, Baylor defensive tackle. We're talking about a dude who's 6'4", 358 pounds. He's a huge human being, but he brings versatility to the defensive tackle position because not only does he have the ability to play in the one tech or that nose guard position type that they sometimes you have him at nose guard, but typically the Chiefs have a one tech, so you have to take on some double teams. At 6'4", 258 or 358 pounds, excuse me, I'm offloading his athletic ability. He can do all that. He can take on the doubles. He can clear linebackers in, which the Chiefs desperately need. They desperately need him and defensive tackles to keep their linebackers clean, because the one thing we know that Nick Bolton and Willie Gay like to do is they can get downhill quickly and fast. They can do all that stuff and tackle behind line of scrimmage. You can force all that kind of stuff with big defensive tackles. So I don't know if he's going to be around when the Chiefs draft in the second round. There's a lot of differing opinions on Siaki Ika. He had a really, really nice 2021 season. Kind of fell off a little bit here in 2022 with the production. But as I'm watching him, man, my daughter just fell down for no reason watching a movie. Are you okay? You trip on the blanket? I think you tripped on the blanket.
He's going to, Mom.
Yeah. Okay. But yes, this dude is going to be... I think everyone can hear you, sweetie. Yeah, we can all hear you. Yeah, Siaki Ika would be a fun guy to have in this defense next to Chris Jones because he does offer some pass rush upside, very, very quick hands. He's not going to be, Chris Jones-esque at 350 pounds. It's not possible, but he has really nice short area quickness. And, Jeremy, I wouldn't be surprised to see his 40 time pretty good. I'm more interested in the short area movement for him because, again, if you can get a defensive tackle with that short area prowess, you can get a defensive tackle. You find a one-on-one situation, he can get in there and make some things happen with the pass rush. So I'd love to see that. But the guy that's probably going to be closer to where they can draft at the back end of the second into the third is my guy that I didn't even watch coming into the week. I didn't know much about him. Byron Young, defensive tackle out of Alabama. This is one of my, I guess, more interesting prospects because Byron Young is not your typical defensive tackle. He looks more like a defensive end, if I'm being honest. Um, and that's that's kind of interesting, specifically because he's got a 78-inch wingspan, which is nice to see. And let me pull up his measurements right here really quickly, because he's somebody that brings versatility. We know that the Chiefs drafted, I'm just gonna forget his name, Mike Dana, one of my guys out of Michigan, but he is versatile. He plays on the edge, but he also plays defense tackle. We're seeing him play a lot more, specifically pass rush snaps at defensive tackle this season, and that was huge for his development. And when you talk about a guy like a Byron Young, again, you look at him, the build, he looks like a defensive end. He looks like he's playing a defensive end, and he's able to play there, but he's 6'3", nearly 300 pounds. That tells you that he's extremely lean, and he was almost impossible to block when I was watching him, nearly impossible to block one-on-one. That's also for a one tech. You're talking about someone who, if you try and double team Chris Jones on the inside, the guy who might get one-on-ones on your defensive end, defensive tackle position. So 6'3", nearly 300 pounds, 81-inch wingspan, 34-inch arms, with the ability to, in my opinion, play on the outside, on the inside at nearly 300 pounds. That's a huge difference that we've seen from guys like Colin Saunders and Derek Nottie. So he doesn't necessarily offer that ability to play as a nose tackle, and that's kind of what they're probably looking for. Although a backup 3 tech is definitely valuable, and on this team with Chris Jones, who does need to take some snaps off every now and then, you're going to also need multiple defensive tackles, not just a defensive nose tackle, but also some guys that can give Chris Jones some help, some reps off. So he's definitely an intriguing player to me. I know there's a lot of talk about Keanu Benton for day 2 for the Chiefs. Possibly he does bring a lot of that run stuffing defensive tackle feel to him, like a one tech. He plays a little bit of 3 as well. I wasn't hugely impressed with his tape, but that's, who knows what happens there. But I do think that this defensive tackle class, so far from what I've seen, it's fun. There's some nice players. There's going to be some really good role players. I would imagine the Chiefs draft 1 or 2 in this draft specifically to be able to hone in on developing, and hopefully you bring back Colin Saunders, but I don't think that Derek Nottie will be back. We don't really know. We'll find out, obviously, as free agency starts in 2 weeks now, and the whole defensive line, defensive end, defense tackle, 3 tech, your 4 eyes, your 5s, all that kind of stuff. You're going to have some depth at this draft. So it wouldn't surprise me to see, again, the Chiefs kind of double dip at defensive end or double dip at defensive tackle to be able to continue this rotation of things that they like. You guys know I'm a big Derek Hall guy. Derek Hall is a huge fit for Kansas City and what they want to do at defensive end. 6'2", 252 pounds, 34 3/4 or 3/8 of an inch arms. Like, that's he doesn't have like the bend on the outside like Steve Spagnuolo doesn't want, but he has a first step, he can corner, and he's strong as an ox. So those are some guys that I really liked for this specific defense, and would allow them some flexibility with what they're doing. So that's what we're talking about this week a little bit. We're going to, like I said, my top 5 defensive tackles are going to be released on NFL33.com this week. Do a little bit of film for the top guy, and then subscribers will get all of the film cut-ups and stuff with all the details, the pluses, the minuses, all that kind of detailed information will get released to our subscribers there as well. So since this is a Sunday breakdown and we are in the off season, you guys go ahead. You can start, asking some questions, firing away. We have some time here. I would expect Ryan to get here relatively soon. So yeah, go ahead. We got, like I said, this entire draft season is going to be chock full of prospect breakdowns. Like the first one is going to be coming on Wednesday. If you guys want to give me a couple players you want to see, assuming I have film on them. So that's definitely an area where I think we can all talk about, because that's what this is all about, right? It's draft season, and we got to be able to see what the Chiefs are going to be able to reload, how they're going to be able to reload, what specifically they're going to be able to do to keep this incredible run they're on going. All right, so I see one from Scott here. Didn't Chris Jones get drafted as defensive end? I think you're right about that, playing at Mississippi State. I think he played defense tackle a little bit. Let me just kind of look it up. Because I think Mississippi State played a little bit more of a 3-4, where your defensive ends were like defensive tackles. I could be wrong about that, but I just want to make sure. Yeah, I think that there's a question here about Chiefs draft picks. So I'm seeing right here defensive tackle. I assume that he played like a 3-4 defensive end, which can be plugged more as a defense tackle in the NFL. So thank you for that, Scott. And what picks do the Chiefs have, Gary? Well, let's go ahead and see what we got here. The Chiefs have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 draft picks. 2 of those are going to be in the 7th round. They have a 6th round pick, a 5th round, a 4th, 2 fourths, and then 3, 2, 1. So they did have 2 thirds, but they traded a third for Kadarius Toney, and I think everyone's pretty happy with that trade. So that's what you're looking at: a 1st, a 2nd, a 3rd, 2 fourths, a 5th, a 6th, and 2 7ths. I would imagine you're going to see a couple moves in here, one way or the other, up, down, sideways, back and forth. Brett Veach is going to do whatever he can to make the most and get their guys. That's what they always do. Thank you, Jeremy. Do you think Thornhill returns? This is a topic of discussion that we're going to see pretty much until he signs somewhere. My opinion is they are not going to be overly aggressive in bringing Juan Thornhill back. But safety market is very interesting. It's very different. It's unique. And we see nearly every single season that safeties are they're basically waiting until June, July, August to get signed. So unless you're at the top of the market for the safeties, which I don't know if Juan Thornhill is, I don't necessarily think that his play this season is indicative that he should be at the top of a safety market. But I think that, excuse me, I'm just gonna pull a Seth right there. Stop to take a drink so that my throat doesn't kill me. If he isn't signed somewhere relatively quickly, I think that he'll be back in Kansas City. That's how I feel, and I believe that that's pretty comfortably what they think too. Is if he doesn't get taken off the market in the first 2 weeks to a month, then he'll be back in Kansas City. It just makes too much sense. Thank you, Dirty. Is it possible to cut Frank Clark and then bring him back on a cheaper deal? Always. They could always just restructure, rework his deal. Kind of an extension where everything gets reworked, if I understand that properly. But yes, that they could just cut him and bring him back with, and with the intention of signing him to a different contract. But I do think that the idea would be to extend him and move a lot of their money around if that's the idea to bring him back. All right. Thanks, Info. Brett Coleman suggested in his latest Houston rebuild video that Houston trade wide receiver Brandon Cooks to Kansas City and pay half of a salary for Kansas City's 4th. Just 1/4? Yeah, I'd be all over bringing in Brandon Cooks for a 4th round pick. Doesn't bother me any. I would be totally okay. Brandon Cooks would be a nice addition. He'd play more of that Z role. You're still really looking for an X receiver in Kansas City, unless Marquez Valdez-Scantling stays, which again, we'll see how that goes. But if that's the plan, is to look to trade for a Z receiver, it makes sense to bring him in. But I'll be very honest with you. If they keep Juju Smith-Schuster, if they keep MVS, Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore are right there. I don't think there's any reason to trade for Brandon Cooks and have to pay even half a salary when you can just keep drafting young players that are not going to have concussion problems. And I don't think that Brandon Cooks is injury prone. I don't think that there's anything wrong with him playing. But it's always a risk there, especially as you get older. You're going to take more hits, and there's nothing you can predict with concussions. It's a very, very touch and go subject. And there's a reason that Mitch Morse, left, and Kansas City was not comfortable paying him the money to do that. So, like I said, everybody, we got Ryan. He's here.
Hey, how we doing?
Yeah. See, now you're having the problem. Is it maybe my headset's not on?
Oh, well, hey, you never know. Let me check all my settings. Folks, if you can hear me, let us know.
Yeah, because now I can hear you. What's up?
Okay, cool. Rock and roll. Didn't need it before, so
thank
that's
you.
the way
Thank
that it
you.
goes, folks. Hey,
I know.
welcome back. Sorry I'm late.
All right.
Okay. So
We're
what's
good to
going
go.
on around here? I'm busy. I'm busy playing vol this weekend.
How'd it go? Maybe I'm having some internet issues. All right. So am I still in the stream? Is Ryan stuck? In my internet all screwy?
7654321.
I can hear you now.
Okay, good. Hey, it's always fun when you join the stream late. So welcome.
Okay. I see. Oh, you're right, Justin. They did trade a
Oh.
third and a sixth. That's my fault. I forgot about the 6th-round pick they had too. Because they don't have their original 6th-round pick, so they have theirs from Miami from the Tyreek Hill trade. So yes, the 3rd and the 6th, but it all counts the same in my eyes at that point. All right, I guess we'll just keep on running now that we got the connection steady and Ryan's here and we're all good. I appreciate the question, Dan. Who are 3 players you think are gone? Since I've been answering most of the questions, Ryan, you go ahead. You take this one.
3 players that are gone. I've been toying with this over the weekend. I've been out playing volleyball dad this weekend, so I've had some time to think in between matches and that kind of thing. I want Juan Thornhill to come back.
Mm-hmm.
My gut just tells me that somebody else is going to be a little bit more interested than the money that they're going to end up giving him. It's very tight to me. It feels very borderline to me.
Yeah.
And I last week I was on the other side of the fence. Like I thought he'd be back. Now it's a little bit back and forth. So he's one. I think the same is probably true with Andrew Wiley. I got to think that he's going to get an offer he can't say no to. There's just not too much around that. I'm trying to pull up the rest of the list here 1 second. And I think Juju comes back. I'm going to put it that way.
Okay.
I think if Carlos plays next year, I kind of feel like it's for Kansas City.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, was it enough of a season for everybody to give him like a big contract where he wants to go elsewhere when he can walk back in, play 25% of the snaps and get another ring? Like,
yeah,
I mean, that's got to be in his thinking, right?
Absolutely.
Technically, Shane Michelle's exclusive rights. I think Colin Saunders is back. I do think that as well.
I'd love to have Colin Saunders back. So you guys know that I've been pretty consistently that I think that Marquez is gone. We'll see how the Chiefs do it, because it's not a foregone conclusion by any stretch that he'll just be released based off of 1 year of play. I know that my opinion on him is different than probably the team's, and that's fine. But when you're talking about production and ability at the price tag that he has, it doesn't make much sense in my opinion. So that's all I'll say on MVS. Probably that will be the continuation throughout the entire offseason until they move on or don't move on from him. So if you ask about MVS, that's probably what I'm gonna tell you. Gone. I think, man, I think Derek Nottie is gone. I don't believe he will be back next year.
Agreed.
And then I want now that's happened. I literally want Frank Clark to restructure everything and like get a year or 2 extension, but it's like half of what he was getting paid, and just play 20% of the snaps. They draft a defensive end. He plays in this like the playoffs where he does everything. But I do believe that Frank Clark will also be gone.
Yeah, I kind of feel that way as well. Like, in fact, I put Juan on the thumbnail because he was the one that's been sticking in my mind the most.
Yeah.
But you're right. The fortunes for Frank Clark have really changed in the last 8 weeks. And that remind myself when I start complaining next preseason, right? Like remind myself that I did it again this year.
Yeah, that's what it is. Especially the fan view of Frank Clark has really changed. Not just because of the postseason production, but because of how he has taken in, how Andy Reid loves Frank Clark, how they react together, and that there's a video of him, being on the bench after the Super Bowl, just like taking in the moment. Like that's as much as the team says, okay, we understand that you're not doing the best and we don't necessarily want you here. But fan reaction against Frank Clark was so harsh before. Like, I think it helps the team kind of say, well, you're going to have a chance to break postseason history. I think we might want a part of that too. Like,
let us be with you for that one.
Yeah.
That's kind of fun. Yeah, and that's a fair point. Yeah, I just got to see, because I don't know that Frank needs to start games anymore. I still want to see
Definitely
the investment in edge and let him. Honestly, if he moves to the Carlos Dunlap role, I can live with that. If they make the investment at edge as well and just get the younger player. So, hey, that could help out as well. You guys, we're going to answer all your super chats, and we're going to get to the rest of these questions as well. Want to drop you guys a look at the newest lid around here. It is the
That's
MVP
so
logo. So I wanted to sport that. I literally got it in the mail yesterday,
Nice.
just before I went this morning. So I just wanted to get that out there. I'm kind of digging it, tell you the truth. Let's see. Do you think the Chiefs will continue to add receiver? This goes with another question that's in here too. Yes. I mean, abundantly yes. Over and over and over and over. The question is whether is it that threshold? Is it above the top 100, or is it more guys that could hit that you're taking more of a roll of the dice on?
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. I've already tweeted out, I don't want the Chiefs to draft a receiver in the first round this year, but then you get hit with the, well, you're just going to continue to draft second round picks where they don't pan out. I mean, I tried to tell everybody Sky Moore was not going to be a year one explosion. It was not going to happen. There was too many veterans in the room. There just were. And Andy Reid wanted to play him. Sky Moore is a good receiver. Just give him some time. But there are a lot of good receivers in the second round, in the third round, in the fourth round. Like, this is an every year thing. I might even write an article about how wide receivers gotten so deep over the past decade because of the emergence of 7-on-7 camps for like 7-year-old plus. Like, these receivers come into high school knowing how to run routes. Like, they know how to do it. This is not them having to figure it out in college anymore. They're doing this before they get into high school. So it's a whole different thing. There's a couple of guys on day 3 that I've got my eye on too that would be fun for Kansas City. So
you want to drop us a name, or are you just going to keep
Zachary Franklin? Yeah, out of UTSA.
Oh, I'm going to drop my sleeper on you too, because I've been waiting for this. He made a leap, and his production did go down. But I still believe in the guy. And I think after that transition going to Penn State this year, watch out for Marcus Tinsley.
I loved him too. I watched him with, Jarrett Stearns and your boy out there in Western Kentucky. And I'm like, this dude's the best receiver on this team.
Ding, ding, ding. And so he goes to Penn State this season, playing obviously with not an optimal quarterback, but still puts up almost 600 yards and I think 6 touchdowns. Not the explosive season that he had before at a different level. But I think that starting that transition, I think he can take another step up and be a contributor in a season or two. And no one's talking about him. I'm the only one that I've even seen bring him up. So let's tuck him away as a nice little, hey, 6th round. Who's my guy?
I was pretty big on him at Penn State too, but they played Clifford at quarterback, so he didn't. If they would have played Drew Allar all season, I bet you Tinsley has better numbers, and Parker Washington for that matter, who's also falling down draft boards, who was coming into this season. Everyone's like, "Hey, Parker Washington, he could be a first round possible pick." We're talking about him on the late day 2 right now. Like, he's not even getting mentioned. Maybe till round 3. That's another player that would fit in what Kansas City wants to do with their receivers. So just a couple of Penn State guys. Can't believe I'm talking about it.
Well, and we're going to be talking about it this week, folks. The reason we're doing this tonight, where we're talking about who may or may not be back, is tomorrow we're going to start talking about not only what has to happen, but maybe who could fit these roles, because it is Combine Week. Players are going to start reporting here, and so we're going to start to see little glimpses. And I think both these players that we were just talking about, they might get a little bit more attention after the Combine, especially one particular gauntlet drill that I expect to be money for both of them. So, pay attention to that one. And you know what? I clicked it before. I'm not going to do it, Dan. This is your stream. I'm just going to sit back.
Oh, it's fine. It's not a big deal. Honestly, we could even go back and forth if you wanted to. Like, that doesn't bother me at all.
See, I go out with my friends, and I have a few beers, and I still think I get to drive. So, I just got to stop that. Oh,
Appreciate it. Special K, do you think Veach would trade OBJ if he can get a first from a team desperate for a solid tackle, especially if OBJ is asking for too much? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because not even just return on investment, because they invested the 30th overall pick in Orlando Brown. Probably some other stuff too, but they got like the second back and all that stuff. But if you can get a first round draft pick for a guy who you don't want to they don't want to pay him. Okay. They don't want to pay him. And they've made that clear. Or he would have gotten paid last year. And maybe even, all this stuff. So we're looking at a position again. My opinion is that they should tag him, draft a tackle on day 1 or 2, develop him for a year. You have the tag for Orlando Brown after this year. You wash your hands. You say, we're young at tackle now. We're ready. And that's what they should, in my opinion, do. But again, if you get a team, say you get the non-exclusive, which is the majority of these, and a team is like, hey, we want this. Like maybe the Chicago Bears. I don't know. The Chicago Bears come calling because that seems to be the one place that fits for him right now. Obviously, we don't have a clue what else other teams are asking. I would imagine that there are some other suitors for Orlando Brown, a guy who just won a Super Bowl and who's been good, not great, but you're going to have some suitors. So yeah, I think that he would absolutely do that.
I gotta think so too, because let's look at it. I mean, the Bears have 98 million in cap space. The Falcons have 55. I don't think they're going to trade him to the Raiders at 48, but the Giants at 46, all the way down to the Texans at 37. All those teams could use some help on the offensive line. It just comes down to who likes him, who didn't, who knows him, who doesn't, that kind of thing. There could be a number of movement there. If you get a first rounder offer, just knowing that you can tag, let him sign that and trade him, and he can get his new contract with another team that he wants. I think that sets him up, and it sets this team up. And it may be a year early, because I do think they plan on using the tag again if they can't get a long-term done. And I wonder if they prefer the tag now. But if you get a first and you start that, if you can put a tackle right now that's a first-round caliber with Creed and Trey, I mean, you have the future, the next evolution, and their offsets. You're not trying to re-sign all three of them at the same time. Like, you're going to get that kind of roll through. I think that's key. And if they got another first round pick, depending on where it was, if they get something in the 20s, I think they package their ones, they go up to 10, and they take the tackle of their choice, and they call it the next evolution.
If they can get another one, absolutely. I think that makes a lot of sense, but that's a tough hill for them to climb. Yeah. It's a real tough hill for them to climb, but appreciate the question, Special K. Thank you, Kevin. What position are Chiefs going with the first round pick? I think Brian and I see this pretty similarly. I will give you my off the top. I think it's between two. I think that's just between two positions. But I think it's going to be tackle. I think, especially because by the time the draft hits, I think we'll have a better idea of where they are with Orlando Brown. And I think that that's going to play a huge role in this. And it's going to be one of these back end of the first round tackles that they end up taking to plan everything out, whether they have to trade up to like 20-ish to get him. We'll see. But I do think that it's going to be a tackle.
What do we have? 6 days to the tag deadline?
I don't know if there is a deadline, right? I know it started last week. So
okay, there is at some point. I don't know exactly how long it is, but I expect the tag to be used, and then they negotiate through the summer. And I think if they are going to get something done, trade or long-term extension, I think that is going to be, again, like last year, like just before camp. So it makes things hard. And in the meantime, if you don't feel you're making progress, you'll get the tackle that you think you can get that fits what you're doing. I don't think it changes it either way. The only problem that I see is there's a cluster of 3, and then there's a pretty good drop off. Yep. If somebody else sneaks in and takes, I think right now Anton Harrison is Anton. I always do that. I think he's the next most athletic guy. I would then put Darnell Wright ahead of DeJuan Jones in terms of athleticism. Now there's other guys. I personally feel one of the lighter guys, little light on experience that I really like as a day 2 guy is Jalen Duncan.
Mhm.
And I think he could fit into the Fish thing. He's underpowered, but he has the athleticism. They just have to decide if the top 3 go, how happy are they? Because then it turns into, okay, where are first round graded edges? I think
Yeah.
the problem is at 31, you could have all of your first round graded players at both those positions gone. And then it's who is your next top rated player at wide receiver, at safety, at D, inside? I don't know. That's going to be really topsy-turvy, to tell you the truth. I know you've been looking at DIs this week. We'll talk more about them tomorrow, but you want to give us a little preview?
Yeah, I did that right off the top, actually. I talked a little bit
Oh.
about some of the guys that I think Byron Young is someone I really like. That would be more of a depth person for Chris Jones. You get him some on at a one tech. You don't want him playing nose tackle, but obviously it's not really what the Chiefs do. But I think he can play one tech and survive. And I'm a big Siaki Ika guy. I think that, very high on him. He could be. I don't know if he'll be there when they draft in the second round because you shouldn't take him in the first. There's only one defense tackle, in my opinion, that should go in the first round in this class. Everybody else should be day 2 because there's too many questions. There's just too many questions. You don't know Brian Brzee, they're not just about the production drop, the injuries, but how mentally is he? He's got a lot of stuff that has happened to him over the last year, some traumatic stuff. So it's hard to, I mean, talent's there. I got, daughter's feet in the background over here, but he's got tons and tons of talent. And I mean, Ika as well, 350 pounds. How much more does he put on? We know that sometimes it doesn't always translate to keeping it off in the NFL when you're getting paid more and you're in a place like Kansas City with barbecue. Like, it's not exactly easy to keep weight off. So.
Ask Colin. Yeah. It slowed him down in sophomore season. I am convinced of that. Did you lose that tooth, Avery?
No, she didn't. She's 4.
Oh, okay.
That hasn't happened yet.
Okay. I was like, dang. Thought I saw a gap in there. I was like, dang. What are you been playing football?
Almost. So we do have the March 7th is the deadline.
Thank you for that, Cole. Appreciate
that.
Now, we will talk more about Siaki Ika because this is one player so far that we disagree on. We're going to talk about him tomorrow night, so don't miss it here as we start to – hi, baby. As we start to see more guys that we can talk about specifically for the Chiefs as well. We'll start that tomorrow night. I always forget she can't hear me. She doesn't have headphones on. Okay.
No, that's why I really should just put this down or get speakers so she can. I keep saying that every time, but it never happens. All right, Pono, this one's for you, Ryan. You go ahead.
Hey, Ryan, time to forgive Kareem and bring him back? ? He and Isaiah would be a devastating top tandem in the league. I mean, yeah, on the field, they would definitely be a 1-2 punch that is very, very hard to compete with. I will say 2 things before I get to the crux of the matter. I think that Kareem has benefited and kind of he may elongate his career because he's playing with Chubb. He doesn't have to be the breadwinner, right? And I do like that concept of pairing him with Isaiah as well. I will also say this. I think he's lost a little bit of explosiveness, just in my opinion. But all that aside, I just don't think that leadership is ever going to forgive him. It's not up to me to forgive him. I just don't think they will. If you put that product on the field, I think it could work easily. And I love the concept of having 2 bigger body dudes that run real hard, especially I don't think anything, you correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, I don't see any diminishment in Kareem's ability to catch the ball and do something with it. Do you?
I think his reacceleration has been a problem. He does not have the home run hitting ability anymore. It's pretty much gone. I've seen, a couple of it, but again, it's running back. Who knows? He could, if he goes somewhere. I actually think Miami is a destination he ends up. It wouldn't shock me to see them go after him because they need a running back, not just these injury-prone guys. And Kareem wants an opportunity to be number 1 again. It would make sense in Miami with that offense. I'm just saying. It's something that I'm looking for. But it does. He's still a really good pass protector. He's still a really good pass catcher. That reacceleration is my biggest worry because you can make guys miss. You can make them miss in the hole. But when you get an open field and you're got to get back into gear, that's where I don't see it anymore. And that's the bigger problem for me.
I completely agree. And I'm doing a quick check here. because you guys are going to laugh at me. But we got to start remembering this, because I think we've gone to the point where maybe we're not remembering just how much of an influence Eric Bieniemy is.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to be surprised if he doesn't get a serious offer from the Commanders, despite having Brian Robinson as a 1-2 punch there. I still feel like Antonio Gibson can be mostly a 3/4 time slot receiver, to tell you the truth. So I don't know that you see the instincts from Gibson. So I wonder if EB wants a little bit more tried and true. And if he's on the free agent market, why not?
Yeah, I don't get that. I don't have an issue with that. I like Brian Robinson a lot as a player. I think he's a really underappreciated running back, and there's a reason that he was the starter and not over Antonio Gibson. A lot of people think just play Antonio Gibson. Antonio Gibson has been and almost always has been an athlete playing the position. He doesn't really know how to read the tackles. His biggest games came against defenses that their offensive line could open huge holes.
Yeah.
Like his best games were against the Cowboys defense 3 years ago, I think, in his career, where the defense was just so awful that he was just, all right, I'm just going to run for all these yards. So there'd be a nice opportunity for them to get a tandem back there. But I think that they're going to ride with those two, with Gibson and with Robinson. But there is a reason Robinson has been the guy in Washington last year for most of the season.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I think it'll be a really interesting run here with Kareem. There might be even a dark horse that we don't know about. Obviously, the next one would be Chicago, right? Because you have money to spend. Poles knew him then. He was in the room when they made the selection. I can guarantee that. So, like those two teams, we're going to talk Washington and Chicago picking up Chiefs players or Chiefs-related players this whole offseason because it just makes too much sense. You're going to get sick of hearing me say it.
Probably. We'll see. Appreciate that, Pono. Thanks again, Special K, for the question. Are there any sneaky free agents you guys can see in Chiefs uniform already? Feel like Paris Campbell will be this year's Reach reclamation project. So I loved Paris Campbell coming out. There is a concern. The injury history is really, really concerning. And I know that everyone continuously says, just get them in here with this coaching staff and they'll be fine. Sammy Watkins is proof that doesn't always happen. Okay. It doesn't. There's no guarantee that Kadarius Toney is going to be fine going forward. Like there's no guarantee that anybody that comes in just because this, staff is excellent, they're just going to get better. Some body types and body styles don't offer to it. It's just not always the way it is. I am not okay with Paris Campbell in Kansas City only because they have a ton of smaller, shifty-ish guys, and I would like to see some more true bigger athletes in the wide receiver room. That's my own thing. Free agents. If it wasn't going to be so expensive, I would love Jacoby Myers in Kansas City. But I saw a report today that he's probably going to command $15 to $20 million.
Good Lord.
That's something I can't get behind, especially for this team. It makes absolutely no sense. Do you have any off the top of your head while I check the free agent tracker here?
I mean, the other guy that I would look into, because I think at his age, at 27 years old, this is his last kind of big opportunity. I think he was 10 against the cap last year for the Lions. I think DJ Chark's an interesting option.
Yes,
again,
DJ Chark, yep.
I think he's after to fall off. Like, can he command 8? Yeah, I feel pretty comfortable with that. And I feel pretty much comfortable giving him that. Because I think he might give you, I don't know. I don't think he's the same kind of deep threat. I don't think he's as good a deep threat as MVS is. But I think he gives you a better rounded game overall. Yeah. And it buys you time to draft, like we were talking about before, to draft a lower ranked rookie, 3rd round, 4th round, something like that can play the X, that has the body type. I like A.T. Perry and Cedric Tillman. I think both of them in this offense would be functional, but not the stretch. You know what I mean? I don't think either of them could really qualify as a deep threat in my book. So you have to add that element as well. Obviously, Tony has some of that. Obviously, if McCole comes back because maybe his market dries up because of the injury and the timing of the surgery, I don't know. Mm-hmm. That could happen. Other than that, I don't see a lot out here as I'm looking down the list that makes me go, hey, he's worth taking a gamble on. I do agree with you. Paris, I was high on Paris coming out. I had him higher than McLaurin to tell you the truth, by a couple of like they're right next to each other on the wide receiver spot. But in terms of my overall, they're fairly close, but maybe less than 10 guys apart. Problem is not only is the injury history significant, the injury history has slowed his development.
Yeah.
And it may have slowed it to the point that he can't recover.
I'll throw a name out there. You tell me how much you think this guy's going to command. Arden Key.
6.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think there's trust there. You
All right.
might get somebody desperate to go for it, but I don't think there's trust.
Bring him to Kansas City then.
Okay. You okay with that?
6 mil? A rotational pass rusher for say they don't bring Dunlap back.
Frank back. Yeah.
Or Frank back. Well, either or. It doesn't really matter at this point. Arden Key with Joe Cullen, I think, would be a nice rotational guy who, again, showed flashes last year in Jacksonville, but you're getting Joe Cullen, who Chris Jones singled out in his acceptance award yesterday. Singled out Joe Cullen. There's a lot of trust there, but with the defensive line, the edge production, I think he would be fun to have in this resurrection of what we're seeing with the Chiefs defensive line and going forward. So that's one guy I'll put out there for you.
I can see that, especially again, they've had plenty of chance to play against him, so they have a good feel for him, if anything. So I think that does actually help. The pro personnel department, I think, is going to be very familiar and be able to pick and choose that. So if we do see interest there from the Chiefs, I think we'll know exactly why.
Absolutely. All right, thanks for the question, JJC. How do you guys think Justin Ross will make an impact on 2023? I'll give you like 10 words, Ryan, at most, just to give me your answer on this.
He will get us excited in the preseason.
There you go. That's it. That's exactly what it is.
For his sake, I hope he can get healthy. That's the only question for me. Is can he be healthy? He has all the tools. He knows how to play the position. He probably didn't get a ton of reps with the playbook. I mean, even though you've been assigned to the team, like you're not in the meetings and the install every week, that kind of thing. There's still a little bit there, but it's really about, can he just stay on the field? That's really what it's going to come down to for both of the partners of the Ross and Ross law firm.
Exactly. I just get healthy, man. Don't worry so much about football. Get healthy, because all we know is that he wasn't doing anything this offseason or this entire season. I don't know anything. So just get healthy. We'll see what ends up happening elsewhere. I appreciate it, JJ. Thank you for the super chat, Jacob. Cheers from Ohio. Thank you. Just found out I might make it to the draft this year. Lifelong fan, but will be my first time in Kansas City. Super pumped.
That's awesome.
What's up?
So Dan will give you the hookup at Casey Masterpiece. I'm sorry, no, at Jack Stack. Because Dan gets hooked up at Jack Stack. I don't get nothing from Jack Stack. What's the deal?
So I can make
but yeah, he can give you all the places to join and go by. I'm going to try to find a venue where maybe some of us can get together if everybody's around for that. It won't be the kind of event that I wanted to do last year. But it may be, hey, we're going to pick a destination. Anybody wants to come have a drink or whatever, we can do that. I just have to find the right spot and get somebody to agree to give us enough space that we can dedicate that to, and we'll let you know when and if that does happen. That's the goal. So cheers to you, and I hope that you have a great time. I think it's going to be a good weekend in Kansas City. I'm looking forward to it a ton.
Sorry, my daughter is currently trying to whisper something from across the room, so she's trying to get my attention, and I have got no idea what she's saying. Okay. So yeah, appreciate that, Jacob. I'm looking forward to seeing what Ryan can get done for us, because, as you guys know, I'm not the brains behind that kind of stuff. Dealing with calling and talking to people is not really my area of expertise.
Well, hopefully we have some friends that may be able to help with that. We'll find out.
Absolutely. Avery going rogue. That's right. Every day. That's all she knows how to do is go rogue, not listen to anything I say.
Oh, man.
Priest Mahomes. I'm sorry that you're hungry. You should have had more pizza. Do you have any hope for Kando or Herring? So Herring played a little bit this year. Okay. You can please take this really quickly.
Yeah. I think I know where you're going, and I happen to agree with you. Herring produced enough that I feel comfortable like he could continue to make some progress. I think there's still a spark there. I haven't seen anything from Kano that makes me think he can make this roster. I don't anticipate them trying to push that. I want to see if he's still signed to a futures contract or if it's something more substantial than that. I want to say it's a futures contract. In that case, I think it becomes about getting another draft pick in here, getting maybe a free agent that they liked, in Kano's year or someone since in order to take up that slack. But of the two, I do think that Herring has the better chance. And I think we've seen clearly just from being on the field, a guy that gives you enough to think like there's still clay you can mold there and get some contribution. So I like the concept of it. You just have to see if it comes to fruition and he can actually perform at that level.
Absolutely. I don't think Kano is going to be on the roster next year, personally.
Fair enough.
All right. I appreciate that, Priest Mahomes. Justin, what's going on, man? Who are your guys' dream picks that we trade up to get, and how much you'd be willing to give up for him? So I haven't given this too much thought yet. I'm sure very soon, after I get more into the tackle prospects, that this will become very easy for me. But I don't think they can go get right now their guy that I would want them to get. And I also am not comfortable trading up to get a Paris Johnson. I like his athletic ability. I have real questions about how he does anything else in the NFL. I didn't really like watching him play against anything where he had to physically stop somebody. And he got bullied a lot, and I was not comfortable with that. But again, if you're taking him to back up Orlando Brown, who can teach him a few things, okay, I can understand that. But if you're trying to get him to start this year because you've either traded away Orlando Brown or have moved on from him, I'm not comfortable there personally. We'll see how I get into more tape and see how that goes. But from what I have seen, I was not comfortable with that. So trading up would be a defensive end. And when you look at the top of this defensive end class, I mean, I can't even think right now.
That becomes problematic, my friend.
I had an idea going with this, and I just completely fell off a cliff. So I pulled them up.
Let me give you some options.
Let
me give you some options. Nolan and BJ are two outside linebacker 3-4 guys, in my opinion.
Yes.
But they can both come off the edge. They're undersized. They're finesse type DNs.
Mm-hmm.
There is Miles Murphy, Foskey, and Tyreek Morris that I think are all more power-based defensive ends. Although Tyree does have more bend. I just got done with the TCU game, which showed a different flavor that he has a little bit more than I originally thought. So I'm coming around on maybe there's a little more upside there than I thought. Those would be the only guys in the top 5 for me that you could go after.
Absolutely. And I think the Chiefs are pretty comfortable near the end of the first round if they have to stand put, because I think that Derek Hall would be a fit specific for this defense immediately, and that's not someone you're going to get in the second round. He's not going to be there. But trading up, I think Miles Murphy makes a lot of sense. Again, power, you do have that first step. He has some short area twitch, but he's not going to, bend the lights out of anything. That's just not really his game. But get off, motor, physical, length, extension, all that kind of stuff is part of his game. So if they're trading up, it seems like that would be where they go. But those are the only 2 spots that you really can trade up for in this draft. You can't really do much anywhere else, in my opinion.
I would be comfortable giving up a first and a fourth if I could convince them. But I would even go so far and break one of my cardinal rules. And I would trade a first and a third to go to 16 and take Broderick Jones. Because he's my kind of player. He's an uber athlete for the position. He doesn't know what he's doing yet. So coaching can take him to his ceiling. But he's got the nasty. He's got the footwork. He's got a couple of issues. But he has all the things you can't coach. And I would go for it.
I think he's going to be a top 10 pick.
You think he's going to break that top 10, really?
I do. Because of what you just said. I thought the same thing of Fashanu out of Penn State. If he would have
Totally.
declared, I think he would have been a top 10 pick because he has the things you can't teach. He has the instincts to play tackle right now. Like obviously the technical aspects of his hand usage and positioning and positioning your feet, getting your drops properly are all work in progress for him. But he knows he finishes. He just has an instinct about playing tackle. And I think that teams are going to see that and they're going to be like, yeah, I can teach this guy how to do everything else, but he has the things that I can't teach this tackle that I have right now how to do. And that's when you're physically gifted as these humongous human beings are that play offensive tackle, they're huge.
And I'll tell you this, I'll go a step further too. If that's true and you're right and he's in the top 10, there's no way I'm trading. I'm not giving up the draft capital to go that high. I won't go above 16. I'll tell you that right now. But if that doesn't happen and he's top OT on my board right now. A lot of boards he's third. And people are still considering Skoronski a tackle. I'm not sold on that. I have Skoronski listed as a guard right now. But I will say this. If they go off and Anton Harris goes and Darnell Wright goes, and I'm not saying that I would even select either of those guys at 31. I'm just saying they're options. I'm not 100% sold that either of them are worth 31.
Yeah.
But I will say this. If you have to go the other direction because you have an edge rusher, I would come back and I would look at the other guys. I would look at McClendon from Georgia, their right tackle, who you can probably get in the 4th. And I would look at Wanya Morris, who I think had a good Senior Bowl and went under the radar because of DeJuan Jones.
Yeah.
You could probably have him in the 4th or the 5th.
And DeJuan Jones left after the first day. Like,
I know, right? Yeah. So, like, I think there's some fringe 100 to, like, 180. I think those guys are in that range that can be had as the third tier tackles that can actually help this team because they have the upside they can grow into. Can they be day one starters? I don't know, but I think they can be year 2 starters. So for me, having that extra tier of depth makes a big difference.
I'm with you. Appreciate that question, Justin. Can Kennard or Niang start, Russ? I think we both agree and know that Lucas Niang can start. It's more the physical talent is there. Like I think he's very easily the most talented tackle on the roster. Is that a stretch, do you think? I know
a very good question.
I know Orlando Brown is obviously the best.
He's potentially the best, right?
Yeah, and that's why.
But he hasn't proven he can do it even consistently enough for half a season, right?
Yeah.
So I just have trouble swinging that bat, but okay.
I will hold on to the opinion that he's probably the most talented. Will he ever get there? Who knows? Probably not. I'll just be realistic. Probably not. Kennard, no, because Kennard's not a tackle and he's a guard. And you have your 2 guards. He's not going to start. I know everyone was like, hey, he's really, really good player from Kentucky who maybe, the Chiefs got lucky with and went up to get him in the 5th. Dude has he's got no feet. Like he's out there with almost stumps on the bottom of his legs. Like he can't move very well. It's not his fault.
I will say this though. I've seen him in not just the parade, but in the locker room as well. He has dropped some of his bad weight.
That's good.
He looks trimmer, and that should affect his feet. Very much the same way that Trey's feet got a little bit better. Now, Trey had better feet overall than Kennard coming out, but Trey's been able to evolve a little bit. So I do like the concept that if that is true and he gets the athletic payoff that I think could be coming from that change in his body type, I think he could be the next Allegretti, and he could be the swing interior guy.
Absolutely. I love that. I think he'll be in Kansas City, though. I don't think Nick is going anywhere.
I think somebody's going to get money. I think it might be Ryan Poles in Chicago.
You think everyone's going to get money? You think Andrew Wiley's getting money?
I think Allegretti can start for the Chicago Bears tomorrow. I think he's that good, and they're that bad.
I don't think you're wrong about that. Okay, that's a very good point. You guys know, ever since he was drafted, I've been an Allegretti fan. Like I've been all over the guy, and when he started that year, he was actually quite good and just gets overlooked. So a really good depth player. So Ryan might be right about that. Thank you, Russ. Leon, thank you for the super chat. Do you think Gay lost his speed after the meniscus surgery? He looked too slow. He looked slowed when he chased Jalen Hurts out of bounds 4th quarter. Okay, so Jalen Hurts is deceptively fast, guys. He and Justin Fields are big, fast quarterbacks. Like, they're very fast. I know that he may not have run a fast 40 time, but you guys think Patrick gets faster when guys are chasing him. Imagine an actual fast quarterback, how they get faster when someone who's really fast, like Willie Gay, is chasing him. So I don't think he's any slower than he was. He looks just as Willie Gay played, looked, and was his best version of himself in the Super Bowl. That was the best he's played, in my personal opinion. The same with all of their linebackers. Every one of them played their best game of their careers in the Super Bowl. That's a large reason why they won the Super Bowl. So yeah, I don't think that he lost any speed myself.
I will put it this way. I think I see just a 2% decline since the injury, but I think he gained back maybe 5 or 10% through the course of this year.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think he can get back to 100%. Willie Gay, that is. And I will say this: Hurts ran away from linebackers that are nearly as athletic as Willie is. So I think that's kind of the benchmark as well. As see who else Hurts hurt. And that's going to be my thing the whole off season. So I'm just going to keep doing that. But yeah, the meniscus, it's a tricky thing, and especially depending on the repair that you have, sometimes they just cut a section out, so it gives you a little groove to set the joint into. That generally doesn't require any other work, and you generally can get back to your full athleticism because it doesn't affect stability of the joint at all, right? Sometimes they have to go out there and remove the whole thing, and that becomes an arthritic situation, it becomes a pain tolerant situation, and that I think has more degrading to his overall athleticism than we generally hear. From what I understand, it was a quick snip and he should be all good. So knock on wood.
Well, I hope you guys understand that this is, it's not the Q&A. We're going to answer all your questions tomorrow night. We are coming up on the hour mark here, so there will be some questions that we don't get to tonight. And if you would please just remember the questions, maybe write it down, copy and paste it over into another tab, and then you can just hit it on us over there tomorrow night, and we will make sure to get those questions tomorrow. So there is another super chat here from Ombre. I assume. Appreciate that, man. It's been a while, buddy. Awesome. Thank you.
Cheers. Welcome back.
I think y'all should re-sign Orlando Brown or sign Taylor Lewan. That is an interesting dynamic that I've seen actually nobody in, ever since Taylor Lewan was released, in terms of on Twitter, the bigger talking moron heads talking about Taylor Lewan going to Kansas City, mostly because Orlando Brown's there. The intricacies of what his situation details, what it all goes through. I liked Taylor Lewan while he was healthy. Okay. Taylor Lewan was probably a top 10 left tackle when healthy, maybe a little bit higher depending on positional advantageous, but also Tennessee's fit for him was beautiful. Better athlete than Orlando Brown. But we are, again, talking about an offense that he played in that was extremely difficult on his body. Tennessee is get out, ground pound, and then play action off of it, where you have to be able to protect Ryan Tannehill. and Ryan Tannehill, for everything that he is, standing in the pocket, taking hits, and delivering balls over the middle of the field and play action passes, dude isn't always the best at maneuvering, getting away from pressure and stuff like that. So you had to kind of keep him clean inside the pocket to make some things happen. He could make some things outside the structure. But Taylor Lewan, over the last couple of seasons, played, 5 games? Something like that? Over the last 2 years?
Which maybe he's well rested. That's what it comes down to, because at one point when he came out, Taylor Lewan was the most athletic tackle in the Matrix in the year he was drafted. Guys have passed him since then, but he had that basis. And so it is about the degradation of his career through time. If he is rested and healthy, why not give him a shot? I would have said the same thing about Eric Fisher. So maybe there is, maybe there isn't. We'll find out if they kick the tires. But I think it comes down to, he's likely, if he is healthy, as nimble as Orlando is, he doesn't have the same reach, and he's quite a bit older. So those are two factors that play against him. So I think you can definitely check him out, though. We did get another super chat. Everybody say hi to Cole. Nice to see you, Cole. Glad you're back. There's a couple other questions. I want to do like a lightning round because I like these two, Dan. and
Yeah,
I wanna-
let's go.
Okay, go for it.
No, you're the one that has to point out. I don't know which questions you want. You gotta show me.
Okay.
You gotta show me.
Jay Sims, we'll talk about Maryland, the big corner from Maryland tomorrow night. We will give you that. I don't think Melvin Gordon comes back. He's a little too petty right now for doing absolutely nothing to get a ring, but he got one. So I think we're going to chill out on that. I want Dan's answer on this.
Yeah, okay.
If you pick Hyatt, do you pick Hyatt if he's still on the board, or do you have another option? I pick Hyatt if he's still on the board in the third round. That's where I pick him.
Yeah,
I don't think he's a first
if
round
we're
player.
talking first
And
round,
I'm pretty sure Dan doesn't, because
not.
Dan just froze, and that's how much he likes Jalen Hyatt. That's where I'm going. Sorry about all the questions. No worries, Sugary. Just having flashes of inspiration. How many of the outgoing Chiefs do you think will end up giving us comp picks in 2024? I think Allegretti will. I think Wiley will. I will tell you that right now.
Okay.
I think if McColl is healthy, he could. And I definitely think that if Juan Thornhill goes elsewhere, he could. So I could see another 4 comp picks coming back. And that's a nice thing to have. Maybe somebody else surprises me as well.
Am I still frozen?
No, you're good. You're
Okay.
back now.
Don't touch Jalen Hyatt. Please don't.
Oh, Thomas, good point. Hurts may be fast, but not fast enough to outrun Colin Saunders.
So this is true. He also had the angle. Like he did have the angle and the acceleration to get there. Willie was running from behind. So there is that. There is that much.
And I will say this. Colin Saunders, linebacker Colin Saunders. I'm just always going to put that out there. That was maybe the funniest thing for me on the mic'd up, to hear him talk about that before the game. He's like, I got 25 snaps at linebacker that game. Oh, Teddy, if Josh Downs fit this roster, and does he make sense at 31?
Okay, I'm going to take this one off your hands. Thank you, Teddy, for asking this amazing question, because this is the only thing that I will say. The amendment to my rule: don't draft a wide receiver at 31. If Josh Downs is at 31, I would take him and I would run. I would run away. I think Josh Downs is the first round draft pick. And
really?
Yeah, I do. And I know that that's a hot take for some people, but I love his game. I love what he does. He's plays much bigger than he is. He's in this offense. Say goodnight.
I haven't done this film yet. I will trust your opinion until proven otherwise. But that's really interesting. And thank you, Teddy. We're going to speed it up because Miss Avery needs her time, folks. A couple more here, just real quick. Should we pick Jake Bobo and convert him to tight end?
What?
They should pick Jake Bobo and leave him right at wide receiver where he belongs. I think he can be a big possession. I think he can be a big slot. The guy that you should pick and convert to tight end, just like Jody Fortson, his name is Higgins, and he plays at Stanford. And I can't remember his first name off the top of my head. Elijah Higgins. He's the guy that you should go make a tight end, in my opinion. I covet that, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, Bobo definitely is a big slot in the NFL.
Okay, so you're with me there. Okay. Last question and last super chat. Thank you all for being here. And Dan, thanks for running this show. You just might own the breakdown show is what it's going to be. Fun show. Will the Chiefs draft a running back?
Absolutely. Feeling. Yes, they will.
When?
I'm going to say midday 3.
Okay. I got a scenario for you.
Okay.
I'm doing some mock drafts. You guys want to see the mock drafts? We're doing them on Locked On Chiefs. I'm going to do some here. We're going to have them on NFL 33. Go get subscribed. I know it's another paid subscription. Go subscribe to NFL 33 because we're going to tell you about everything. I think there is a possibility that one or both of these guys could be available in the Chiefs spot in the 4th, or maybe even the 5th. And that is Roschon Johnson and Kenny. If Kenny McIntosh is available in day 3, I will say go for it. I can't do the top 100, but I can do that there. And I think he could be a really nice 1-2 punch with Isaiah.
Yeah, I like that. I think that he's really good for this offense, and I think that would I don't see him making it to day 3. We will find out, but I like him that much, and I would love that as well. And thank you Gooch, for that. My daughter really does try hard to not bother me while I work. She tries really hard, but she's 4. There's no way that's ever going to happen, and I'm okay with it.
Gooch, you're a good man, and I'm glad you're back.
Appreciate it, man.
Cheers to you, Mr. Gooch. Nice to see you. Just one last quick one, just because I want to go over this. What's important for us in the read offense, Gavin, the difference between an X and a slot is that the X is the guy that has to take man coverage. He has to be able to beat press in order to be functional. The slot can be the Z, but it can just be the slot as well. They interchange so much. It's the X that has to deal with the physical corners. And that's why you need somebody of at least MVS's size, preferably something bigger, in my opinion.
Yeah, X is on the line of scrimmage. So if you guys know that the slot is off, the Z is also off the line of scrimmage. That creates space between the receiver and the corner for them to work with already. The X, like Brian said, has to deal with, if anyone's going to get my man coverage right away, it's going to be the X receiver because he's on the line of scrimmage and he has nowhere to go.
Yeah. A.T. Perry from Wake, Tillman from Tennessee. Check those guys out. See what you think. I'll probably be talking about both of them tomorrow.
give me Cedric Tillman in this offense, and I'll be so happy.
Question for you to answer tomorrow night, Dan. What round do you take him and feel comfortable? We'll answer that tomorrow. We'll have some probably differing opinions so far as we work through it, but thank you guys for being here. Thank you for running the show, Dan. Thank all of you who supported us with super chats and everything else. Check out the gear. You want to have the MVP? Get some. I think you'll dig it. And I'm looking forward to it. I know Monday sucks. I'm not looking forward to my Monday at the day job, but I'm looking forward to seeing you guys tomorrow night. We will see you then. Thanks for being here. We'll catch you next time.